Hey, this is Anthony Cesare with SuccessForYourSongs.com, and in this video, we're going to take a look at how John Mayer wrote the lyrics for one of his songs all the way from the first verse through to the final chorus and kept the story interesting and engaging the entire time. So have you ever been stuck in quote-unquote second verse hell when you tried to write a new song? This is when all of your ideas kind of poured out of you during your first verse, and then you didn't know what to do with your second verse except maybe say the same thing in a slightly different way. And then you have to come up with something else for the bridge as well. So sometimes moving your story forward can seem difficult, but you don't have to worry about that because I'm going to show you John Mayer's lyrics in the song Daughters so you can see how a professional has handled switching between sections when writing lyrics. So first, let's check out the first verse and the first chorus of Daughters. So we've got, I know a girl, she puts the color inside of my world, but she's just like a maze where all of the walls all continually change. And I've done all I can to stand on her steps with my heart in my hands. Now I'm starting to see, maybe it's got nothing to do with me. Then the chorus, fathers be good to your daughters. Daughters will love like you do. Girls become lovers who turn into mothers, so mothers be good to your daughters too. So right now, this idea is straightforward enough. So it's basically a girl who doesn't respond well to the narrator of the story because she doesn't have a good relationship with her own father. And that's actually livened up pretty nicely by the metaphor about her being in a possible maze in this second line, where all the walls all continually change is a cool way of saying that. And normally, I'd argue that the line, with my heart in my hands, is cliche, so it's void of meaning, but I think he definitely brings it back to life here by adding this part about standing on her steps. Because all of a sudden that makes it visual again. You can almost see him standing there, like probably outside of her apartment steps with his hands outreached and holding his heart. So I think that's a nice save there. Okay, so far we've got a straightforward idea that's beefed up with some cool metaphors. So we move on to verse and chorus 2. Before we move on, I just want to mention that we have a couple of free songwriting cheat sheets for you that can download in the upper right-hand side of the screen. You can just tap that little eye and grab those. Also, if you have not yet subscribed to this YouTube channel to stay updated on our latest songwriting videos, we've got a subscribe button on the lower right-hand side of the video. You can do that there. Now we get, oh, you see that skin? It's the same she's been standing in since the day she saw him walking away. Now I'm left cleaning up the mess he made. So fathers, be good to your daughters. Daughters will love like you do. Girls become lovers who turn into mothers. So mothers, be good to your daughters too. So what happens here is a great technique that Pat Pattison, who is the author of a great book called Writing Better Lyrics, I highly recommend it if you haven't read it already. He refers to this technique as recoloring the chorus. So basically we were given new information in verse 2 that paints the second chorus in a whole new way from where we saw it the first time. So where verse 1 implied that something affected this girl and how she deals with men, in chorus 1, then we took that to mean that she has a subpar relationship with her dad. But now in verse 2, we find out that the dad actually left, and that's what affected her the whole time. So now we head into chorus 2 with a whole new meaning of those exact same chorus lyrics. So this is a great way to advance your story and keep your listeners engaged if they're really paying attention to what your lyrics are saying. In the second verse, so many times songwriters tend to repeat what they say in verse 1 just for lack of any better ideas, but that is a way to get a listener to just kind of go, yeah, I've heard this already, and then kind of check out on the lyrics. It's also pretty cool that John Mayer used a nice descriptive line to sell this point. You see that skin, it's the same she's been standing in since the day she saw him walking away. So that's a great visual way to say that the event of her dad leaving affects her now the same way it did the day that it actually happened. Since songwriting is an audible medium, I mean, having imagery like this that we can actually visualize really helps in driving home ideas. And John Mayer's great at this stuff. Okay, so now let's look at the bridge and the final chorus. So now we get, boys you can break, you'll find out how much they can take. Boys will be strong, and boys soldier on, but boys would be gone without the warmth from a woman's good heart. On behalf of every man, looking out for every girl, you are the guide and the weight of her world. And then we go back into, so fathers, be good to your daughters. Daughters will love like you do. Girls become lovers who turn into mothers, so mothers, be good to your daughters too. So just a quick note on bridges here. Typically the bridge of a song sounds different from the rest of the song. It's usually the first time that we've heard a part like this throughout the whole track. So since the sound of that section is unlike what we've heard in the previous verses and choruses, the lyrics, it's usually a good idea to have them match that altered intent as well. So look at what John Mayer does here with the bridge. He shifts the focus from the girl in the verses to a more general boys in the bridge. So this is a perspective that we haven't seen before, and it's fitting because the bridge is so different musically from the verses. So had he continued the story about the girl while the music completely changed underneath, something would probably feel a little bit off about that. But what's important to keep in mind is that while he shifts the focus to boys, he still ties it into the idea of these boys or men needing a good woman for them to be that man. So now when we head into the final chorus, we know that 1, boys can be strong because of women, and 2, men look out for girls. So they're dependent on each other to be the best that they can be. And you can also take note of the use of boys, women, men, and girls, and when he's using each there. So anyway, when we head into this final chorus, this whole cyclical idea in the chorus now makes sense because of what we learned in the bridge. So the bridge says, boys are strong because of women, and men look out for girls. And then the chorus says, fathers need to be good to their daughters because daughters become lovers who become mothers who have daughters. So that wheel keeps turning. And as long as everybody treats everyone else right, it'll roll along smoothly. But if someone messes that up, then the whole system is screwed. So it's new information, creating new meaning for the same chorus every time we move forward. So let me show you how I took this approach in one of my songs, obviously not as effectively as the lyrical master, John Mayer, but if I show you what I did, then you'll know you can do it too. So this is from a song called Now I Know My Home, and I've got a link for it right on the video here and below the video as well, so if you want to listen to it or just follow along with all the lyrics that are there, I've got them on that link as well, so you can check that out there. But for now, let's talk about what I have here. So the first verse and chorus of this song say, my wheels are spinning, they reel the road in, the distant city is slowly growing. I'm feeling the tug of its gravity, a place to discover the brand new me. Flung from a town that had rained deceit, I wanted to be more than what the past would let me have. When somewhere new began to whisper, you could find it here. I've bounced from place to place, connecting dots on a map, living life just like a pinball, refusing to fall through the flaps. Chased happiness across the globe, but now I know my home. So to sum up these two sections, the verse is telling us that the narrator is about to arrive somewhere and he's excited about that. And the chorus lets you know that he's been traveling for a long time and he's finally found home. Okay, so now with that information in mind, then we move to the second verse and chorus. And now it advances the story with new information. So now we have another quick stay and I've changed my mind. I'm passing more trees by the countryside while drawing in lines between towns that lied, but through the fog I see a city just starting to appear. I'm feeling the tug of its gravity, a place to discover the brand new me, flung from a town that had rained deceit, but places that have failed me start to pile up behind me, so it makes me start to wonder will I find it here. I've bounced from place to place connecting dots on a map, living life just like a pinball, refusing to fall through the flaps, chased happiness across the globe, but now I know my home. It's bouncing place to place, connecting dots on a map, living life just like a pinball, refusing to fall through the flaps. So again, this isn't just a rehash of what happened in verse 1. It lets us know that now, in verse 2, we see that the lead character ended up not being happy with the place that he was about to call home in the first verse, so he's moving on to another place. And that idea kind of gets echoed how some of the verse lyrics are actually repeated. They're the same as the first verse. So we had I'm feeling the tug of its gravity all the way through, flung from a town that had rained deceit. All these are also in verse 1, and that's highlighting that idea that he's arriving somewhere new again. But in the additional information from the rest of the verse, we see that He actually decided that traveling from place to place on the road is his home because he'll never be happy in just one place. And we could see that especially in the last couple lines. But places that have failed me start to pile up behind me, so it makes me start to wonder, will I find it here? So we didn't have that kind of doubt in the first verse because we thought he was landing on his home. So when we take that new information into the second chorus, which uses the same words as it did the first time, which again choruses typically do, it gives that chorus a whole new meaning. Because the first time around we took that chorus to mean his home is the place that he's arriving. But when we hear the lyrics in the second verse, now we realize he'll never consider any single place his home. So now when we hear the phrase, now I know my home, and those lines that lead up to it in the chorus, it's referring to him realizing that he's always on the road and doesn't settle down in one place, and that's where he lives. So the chorus has been recolored. We see it in a new light, even though the words didn't change. Although I did extend this. You can see it's 2 lines longer than the first. So basically it just repeats the first 2 lines because that helps contribute to the idea that we're talking about. You see, by ending on these 2 lines, instead of ending on, but now I know my home, now I say it's bouncing place to place, connecting dots on a map, like that's where home is, living life just like a pinball, refusing to fall through the flaps. And then by not having those last 2 lines behind that repeat, sort of makes you want to move forward, kind of like what he's doing by bouncing around from place to place. So this continues in the bridge, but I think you get the idea here. So hopefully you can use this recoloring approach as a strategy in your own songs to not only just lay out what your entire song's going to say, but give it a way to make the same words in your chorus interesting each time we hear them. So I hope you found that information useful. If you'd like a lot more ways to improve your songwriting, I've got a couple of free cheat sheets for you that you can download by tapping on the screen here. Also, if you have not yet subscribed to this YouTube channel to stay updated on our latest songwriting videos, you can tap our logo on the screen for that. And there's also a link on this screen where you can hear the song that I played for you in this video and the song that you're hearing right now. And now